Okay, the clock's not going off like last time, so I think the clock is skewed because it's showing one, we haven't changed it for daylight savings. Two, it's off by about 5 minutes. So I can't use that as the intro this time, so otherwise the intro is me going on about the clock not going off. Hi everybody! Welcome to Tangent Tuesday. Can you please make sure it's actually picking up on your thing?
It's picking up.
Okay, so for once I have my talking water.
What do you mean for once?
And Bowie has his angry talking water.
Okay, I don't know why sparkling water is referred to as angry water, but okay.
Because it doesn't taste good, it just stings the tongue. So it is just angry talking water. Angry talking water. Now, a couple of hours ago, I asked you if you were able to research something for me because I didn't have time to at the time. Did you learn anything about berries?
Yes, although the definition on what defines a berry is quite vague, depending on where you look.
Right, well, so that's the problem. So, blackberries, not berries. Strawberries, not berries. Bananas are berries, for some reason.
Okay, so, I was looking this up and I got like 4 different answers on like what you define as a berry.
Yep.
Because what separates a berry and a fruit? One, I believe a berry is part of the flowering part of a plant.
Right, it's the ovary, isn't it?
Yes. It's that with a layer of just the food source for the seed and a seed.
So
3 layers: outer layer, inner food layer, you could say, and a seed layer, and it's a single seed.
Right. Because the berry is the ovary swollen up and it's a single seed, whereas a fruit contains multiple.
Yes. It's why an apple
seeds.
is not a berry. An apple is considered a fruit.
Because it has the core for which multiple seeds have been produced.
Yes.
I don't know how that relates to the ovary of the plant, but
it's why also it's why when you think of a lot more of the common berries like cherries, a cherry is considered a berry.
Yeah, I guess a way to think of it is the berry is the seed.
Yes, that's a good way.
Whereas the fruit contains seeds.
Yes.
Unless you're a strawberry, in which case you don't contain seeds. You're covered in seeds.
Why is a banana considered a berry then? Because a banana has multiple seeds in it.
I think because they're not discrete seeds.
Have you seen a picture?
Yeah,
of
but
a
it's
banana?
just it's the single ovary.
That's a great time for a phone call.
Where's the phone going off?
That's a great time. But like, have you seen a picture of what a berry sounds like? Oh, I'm just gonna.
We'll leave it unmuted. If they start leaving a voicemail, we'll have to mute the audio. But yeah,
But like that brings up a lot of interesting questions when you talk about it's like what do you use to classify food? Because food classifications, you think they're very obvious, right? It's like
that's
that's
food,
a fruit,
that's food.
a vegetable, that's a berry.
Well, there's edible and there's inedible. The only problem is people like Nev make stuff that shouldn't be edible, but still eat it.
I mean, no, Ned doesn't make things that are inedible and edible. She just takes a thing that's edible and does nothing to it.
Yeah.
Eating an entire onion.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so insights into Nev's idea of edible. She will take an onion, slice it up, and fry that, and just eat that by itself.
No, she pours ketchup on it, then eats it with ketchup.
Sometimes, other times she just eats the onion straight, and she says that it tastes like a roast dinner if you get a can of peas, microwave it with gravy, and just have peas and gravy.
Yeah.
So, now to be fair, I could see that, but yeah. So, but this is what I mean by some things that shouldn't be edible but are.
I mean, we've talked about food.
I mean,
before.
most of my food experiments, when they go wrong, shouldn't be edible, and really aren't edible.
Too much spice is usually the problem with that.
Yeah, the last time, or the time before when I tried to make a spicy rice and all I made was molten lava.
Yeah. But again, we're talking about food classifications. Again, you would think that they were obvious, right? But then you have like classic things that you think would be obvious. Like, for example, everyone always associates tomatoes as a vegetable.
Mm-hmm.
Tomatoes, by definition of what a fruit is, are a fruit, not
Yes.
a vegetable.
Yeah, but see, I think I've said this before back in like episode 1 or 2. Knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is knowing that you don't put it in a fruit salad.
But you do have tomatoes in fruit salad.
Not fruit salads. You put the regular salads, but not fruit salads.
What's the difference?
A fruit salad consists of usually things like strawberries. Do you put apples in them?
So does a fruit salad contain lettuce?
No.
Okay, so
I'm pretty sure a fruit salad is things like strawberries, grapes, blackberries, that sort of thing.
so in a fruit salad,
Yeah.
in-
Cranberries, pineapple,
so in
yeah.
a fruit salad,
as
it's
Mocha
okay.
says.
You're not allowed to put tomatoes in it, but it's okay to put berries in a fruit salad.
Those aren't berries, River. Strawberry is not a berry. Blackberry is not a berry.
I thought you listed one that wasn't an actual berry.
No, you don't include cherries in them.
You put grapes. Grapes are definitely a berry.
Are they?
I think they are.
To Google we go.
I know for a fact
Grapes.
strawberries are not
Berries.
considered a berry because they have multiple seeds on the outside of them.
So a strawberry is not a berry.
Yeah,
Grape are one of the oldest. They are true berries.
Yeah, they are. I thought they would be.
So grapes are classified as, according to this article that I don't know how accurate it is, they are classified as true berries because the fruit wall or pericarp is fleshy all the way through. So a berry doesn't actually have a seed. So technically a cherry wouldn't be a berry unless the pit's not seed. Because like the berry, you would plant the grape directly. Would that work? Is that how you grow grapes? You take grapes and you plant them?
I am not a botanist.
Oh, I'm curious now. Do you plant grapes?
Yeah, grafting.
Yeah. Because grapes and strawberries and such, you usually reproduce them via cloning and grafting of grapevines and strawberry vines to each other.
Back to the thing
But-
with potatoes grow the same way that potatoes grow.
Huh? Yeah.
That's the same way that potatoes grow.
Yeah, because a potato you don't let the flowers reproduce. You cut up the potato itself and plant that.
Yeah, well, it's because if you use traditional potato seeds from flowers and everything, potatoes are just inherently quite poisonous.
And the flower is the poisonous bit.
Well, no, the flower's the poisonous bit, but if you breed a potato, the chances we have created.
We spent hundreds of years getting potatoes that aren't poisonous.
Yes.
If you let them breed so that they can mix genes again, that's how you get poisonous potatoes again.
Yes. Which is why most potatoes are cloned of the same type of potato.
Yeah. Because you know that it will be the same potato.
Yes. Well, no, technically, actual potatoes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Minecraft potatoes are still done via cloning. They aren't done with seeding.
Well, no, even though when we do potatoes by cloning, you still get poisonous potatoes. Any green bit on a potato is just it's just enough concentrate of the poison that it can.
Yeah, no. When you see a green potato, the green isn't the poison, but the green is caused by the poison.
Yeah.
So you don't eat green potatoes. It's not good, and cooking them isn't sufficient.
No. You don't eat raw potatoes either, but that's not because of the poison.
No, yeah. It's
It's
just because
starch.
it's just because the potato itself isn't edible to cook it either.
Yeah, no, it's because you need the heat of cooking it to break down the starches inside the potato.
The heat causes chemistry to happen, and chemistry is how you get food.
Yeah, so again, classifications for things are dumb sometimes.
Edible, not edible. That makes sense. Berry versus... Yeah, I mean... I shared this in the Discord memes for our moderators. But, like, when you classify numbers even, it doesn't make sense. In English, we go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. In French, you don't. You get to 60, and then it's 60, 10. And then it's 420. And then it's 420, 10. then it's 100.
Yeah. So when people say, who was the person? Who was it who was always in the chat saying that English is a dumb language?
Because basically, in French, I looked into it a little bit more, and my understanding is, when you get to 60, you got 60, 1, 60, 1 through 9. Then you get after that, and there's no 70. It's 60, 10, 60, 11, 60, 12, 60, 13. So basically, it's 60, 1 through 19, 80, 1 through 19.
Okay. This just sounds like this just sounds like someone who's trying to do Harry Potter math with numbers.
Yes, it does. I don't know why it's that way, but that is the format that it follows.
Yeah, I'm glad I decided that not to learn French as a language.
Well, so when I was doing my extra research, I watched this video about counting in languages, and the way languages count differently from one another, and so you could usually tell what country a person was born in and raised in, based on how they count. Because counting is what it is. When you learn a language, you usually don't learn to count in that language. It's too different. So yeah, French does that whole weird thing with 70, 80, and 90. Japanese breaks their numbers down not by thousands but by 10,000s.
Yeah. Which is probably why everything is all their currency system is based on hundreds of yen instead of
because in Japanese you don't say 10,000 because in English we have 10,000s. In Japanese it's just 1 10,000.
Yeah.
Ichiman. Which makes millions difficult because 1 million, which is the new number that you get to when you go from 999,000s, you get to 1 million.
Yeah.
In Japanese, it's just 110,000s.
Okay.
Which is really confusing when you're trying to learn it.
Yeah, again, number and language systems are weird. And I'm not gonna. And when people go like, "Wow, English is a terrible system," yes, it is. But every system is a terrible system.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's just crazy. I wish I could show a video on Tiny Tuesday, but I can't because we don't have it set up. I'd love to show about the gendering of French words that I also shared in the memes channel earlier.
I mean, one, that's probably copyrightable material.
Yeah, it's a TikTok video.
We could go into copyright law, but that's confusing.
But I don't know French, and I can't speak French, and I can't do a French accent, so I wouldn't. I couldn't show or do the video myself.
Is that French you're typing, Malcolm? But that looks more like German to me.
Yeah, Malcolm's German. That's German.
Okay. I don't know languages, but I know.
I do know the joke is that German just sounds angry all the time.
It's because I believe German has a lot of harsh sounds in its regular vocabulary.
So, it's like Zwein and
there's a German person listening.
I know. I can't do.
You've just severely insulted me.
Yeah.
Just severely insulted.
Like, I think the way to sound German is to just be angry as you say it. Whereas the way that I've heard Japanese described is talk like you're a dead fish and you'll sound Japanese.
Interesting way of describing it.
So,
but yeah, if we're talking about like dumb classifications of things, I got distracted earlier looking at random stuff on what do you define as a country.
And it's not whether or not you're a member of the UN.
No, because there are a lot of pretty big countries that are part of the UN.
Hong Kong, for example.
Is Hong Kong a country?
Not if you ask China.
Okay, Hong Kong is the most country-like country which isn't a country. By the
because if Versailles, if you consider Venice a country.
Yes, the city of Venice is
if
the
you
consider
Venice a country, Hong Kong is a country. The only difference is Venice doesn't have a political issue with China.
Wrong country, because one thing, Venice is actually pretty big as a thing, you're thinking of Vatican City.
I might be.
The Vatican City is the city that is supposed to be the place where the Pope lives, and it has a population of about 5,000. And it's a very small city where you can walk across.
Yeah, but I'm comparing Venice and Hong Kong, and they are more similar in population amounts because Hong Kong is huge.
But Vatican City is a country. It's called Vatican City, but it is its own distinct country. It has its own government, passports.
Mostly because you can't tell the Pope what to do.
There's a lot of political things of the Pope living there and the rule of Italy trying to kick him out for like years and years.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you go back historically to all of Europe, the Pope and the various kings, there was a whole lot of political power struggle. And so the Pope being a member of any one country would have been a nightmare. So just make it its own country for that reason.
Well, no, it was made its own country because it was land that the Pope owned, which Italy was trying to take away from it.
Well, yeah, but back then as well, the Pope kinged the kings.
Yes.
So...
Well, no, unless you were a king that was trying to denounce the Pope.
In which case you kinged yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
That happened a lot. By a lot, I mean like 3 or 4 times. I think Napoleon
that's what Napoleon did.
I think Napoleon did
no,
it.
Yeah.
King George III did it, I think, as well.
Napoleon invited the Pope to his crowning, and then in front of the Pope, picked up the crown and put it on his own head.
Yes.
Yeah,
excommunications happen quite a bit. I mean, there's the whole King George III.
Yeah, that happened too, but I don't know enough about that. I actually know more about the Napoleon one than the King George III situation.
Well, Napoleon did kind of again go through the classic of history, try and conquer Europe,
succeed, then go after Russia and lose.
Yeah, so again, if you're going to conquer Europe, if you learn one thing from Tangent Tuesday, it's this: if you're ever going to try and conquer Europe, don't go for Russia. It's never worth it. You always end up losing once you go for Russia.
And if you want to learn from Russia, the best way to beat an invading force is to keep running away until they screw themselves.
Pretty much. But yeah, no. Okay, so going back to the thing of what defines a country. Have you heard of the country of Sealand?
Is that someone trying to define a country as open water in like one tiny...
No. A disused, I think it's British oil rig / military facility that some guy took. It was in international waters, so technically no one had a claim on it. So he claimed it as the country of Sealand.
Okay.
It has been around for 50 years. They have created passports, currency, stamps.
This just sounds like an eccentric rich guy who's trying to do it just because he can.
Probably. And they're adamant that it exists. Now here's the thing. What people would define as the things you need for a country. You need land, you need people, you need a place of residence, you need
and often the ability to defend yourself.
And the ability to defend yourself or something like that, yeah. Problem.
Does he check any of his boxes?
Oh, he checks most of those boxes, technically. He has 50 people.
So, does land count when it's made of metal?
Yes.
Okay.
He technically classifies under those boxes. Here's the thing. That's what there was an agreement by all nations that defined what you agree as defining a country. Mm-hmm. The thing is, in actuality, what defines a country is how many other countries recognize you as an actual country.
Right, and that's Hong Kong's issue. Hong Kong is right next to China. China still claims that it owns Hong Kong. Therefore, to say Hong Kong is a country is to declare political war on China.
Yes. Now so that's why nations they're often called micronations, and that's why Sealand is not considered a real nation, because yes, it has a permanent place of residence, it has people, it has a military.
One guy with
one guy with an AK-47
and maybe a rocket launcher.
Probably not even that. And it's like yes, it has those things, but no country recognizes it as a country. And the only reason it's been able to exist is because it's off the coast of England, and England just doesn't care enough to deal with it. They are not like what happened to Italy. Similar thing happened to Italy. or no, Spain. Sorry, similar thing happened to Spain, and they kicked their guys off the island and bombed it, and just and took
Because
down
Spain's like, no, we own that. Go away.
yes. That's the problem with claiming land is the fact that
Well, that was
there is
something else. Yeah.
there is almost no unclaimed land left in America or left in the earth.
I seem to remember that there was it Crete? No. There was a island off the coast of France,
Okay,
owned by one country, that then basically said, it's not worth your time to fight us, so we're going to declare our independence. And the only country was like, you're right, it's not worth our time. France, do you want to buy that island? And it was worth France's time to go and conquer the island, so they bought the island.
Okay, so you say claims Antarctica, right? That is a political minefield.
Yeah, most nations have claims or most major nations had claims on Antarctica, and it caused problems.
No, most nations still have claims on Antarctica right now. Right now, there's an agreement which says Antarctica is a land free of nation claims.
Right, that's right.
But no one who has a current claim has to technically give up.
Right. All these people who claim bits of Antarctica, which is we showed up on the shore and planted the flag and then went somewhere else. All those nations who did that get to maintain their quote unquote rights to that land on the agreement that no one can use it.
Pretty much. So hold on.
You're not allowed to do anything there. You must maintain Antarctica for future generations how it is. You can't build anything, you can't develop it. The only thing you're allowed to do is a few little research stations that aren't allowed to change anything.
So here is I'm grabbing the map now. I'm going to swap these.
I seem to remember though that there was also an argument about a South American nation. Yeah,
this is the
Chile and Argentina
claim to Antarctica.
Yeah, and note how Chile and Argentina overlap with England.
Yes.
But no one cares enough to fight over it.
There were some people who were like, what was it? No, Chile's claim to it was I think it has to do with with the whole when England and Spain were arguing about who owned what territory.
Yeah, so
and they said there's like anything below this parallel belongs to.
Right. There was an agreement involving the South American countries, Spain and England. It might have just been
what is the name
and
of
such. I don't remember the name of the agreement, but basically the result was anything south of this point, Spain owns, or it might have been even the South American countries own. This was before anybody knew or cared about Antarctica. Now going back to that agreement, depending on how you read it, there was no bottom defined on that below thing. So if you read it in one way, this means that anything below this, as in from this point to the South Pole, we own. Which means that there's a tiny little triangle out of Antarctica that is also owned by us.
Okay, but there's no...
England can't be bothered to argue that point, so their claims just overlap right now.
Well, everyone just claims it, and they just pretend that no one else exists. They have all their science bases on it, and they just pretend the other science bases don't exist.
Right.
Because they're on
because it's basically playing the where's the baby game where you cover your eyes up and don't,
Yeah. If you don't acknowledge that they're there, then they haven't... There's no... It's like...
Because quite frankly, it's Antarctica. When there's a blizzard, you can't see them. You can't get there, you would die. So no one cares.
Yeah, you say that, Per, until someone finds oil there.
I think they have found oil there.
When someone finds oil there, then it's worth it.
I think they have found oil there, but it's a case of when someone finds oil there and doesn't have enough oil and needs it.
Yes.
But the problem is, it's like, I'm going to land some tanks in Antarctica. Awesome! All the fuel flows and the giant icicles. So, speaking of penguins, I did hear something a bit more gruesome about Antarctica. That it's just covered in frozen dead penguins that will never decompose.
That's a pleasant image. Thank you for that.
I don't know if that's true or not. I just heard that.
Well, technically, Antarctica counts as the biggest desert in the entire world.
Right, because there's no rain.
Yeah, it doesn't rain in Antarctica. So while it is incredibly cold, it still counts as a desert. So it's just the biggest desert in the world.
Because the thing is, desert and heat isn't true. There are many cold deserts in this world.
The biggest deserts are all cold, actually.
Yeah. No, not tundra. The definition of tundra is having a certain amount of permafrost, isn't it?
Yes.
So a tundra is a place in which there is a certain amount of snow or ice
the definition of a tundra.
that never melts.
So definition of desert.
Yeah, desert is less than a certain amount of rainfall per year, but a tundra.
Geographic definition. Yeah, there we go. So desert areas,
less than 10 inches of rain per year.
Deserts are areas that have less than 10 inches per rain per year. So any place that has almost no rain per year is considered a desert. It doesn't matter if it's hot or cold. So then what if I do... So that's a desert.
Yeah, tundra.
Treeless regions found in the Arctic and on the tops of mountains.
Right, but that's not necessarily a definition. It's not permafrost then. I think polar is...
Some people define tundra as a treeless polar desert. So some people consider desert a tundra a subset of desert.
Right. Yeah, when I was studying world climates, this was a while ago, they had a breakdown of what defines an area. And it's basically a series of checks that you do. I think the first check is, does it get more than 10 inches of rain?
Yeah, if yes,
it's not a desert, continue. If no, it is a desert. Here's how you break up the 3 different types of desert.
Yeah.
I wonder if I still have that textbook somewhere.
It's not made of rain. Antarctica isn't made of rain. It's made of ice. It's not made of rain.
It's made of ice, yes, but it didn't get there via raining.
An island of rain. I mean, any island that's on the equator is going to have a lot of rain, probably.
Islands, yes, but rain is not necessarily tied to your distance to the equator.
I haven't studied rain.
Like yes, on the equator you've got the rainy season and the dry season, but that's more a result of how the seasons change, because you've got a hot and a cold time. Typically, like, I think part of the reason why you equate the equator with rainy areas is because of the land distribution. No, the land distribution. Because what's on the equator? Central America. And Africa. The Africa bit is all desert. But when you think rainforest, you're thinking primarily the Central America areas.
That's true.
And then the stuff around the Mediterranean, which is all this water and hot. When you combine those two, then you get the rainforests. Lots of water and hot. Because then you have high amounts of evaporation, which, as a natural consequence, results in high amounts of rainfall, because the water has to come back down at some point.
Yeah, which, speaking about that was actually part of the reason. The rainforest was part of the reason why there was such a distinct border between between North America and South America for a while. Because
no one could navigate the rainforests.
Well, I mean, you could connect by boat and everything, but you had to go through the Panama Canal area, and that area below the Panama Canal was all swamp.
Yeah,
it's a nightmare.
It's all forests and swamps.
It's a nightmare to traverse.
Dense forests.
So that's why, during the colonial era, there wasn't actually that much. There wasn't too much concern about a northern invasion of the South America, except for by boat.
Well, back then, any invasion would have been by boat. You were too far away.
That's true, yeah.
So...
But yeah, it's part of the natural border divide. That's the thing you have to consider with borders is There are two types of borders you'll generally see off the countries.
Arbitrary ones by treaty and land and stuff that's features of land.
So, for example, the India-China border is pretty much defined by what's the name of the mountain range?
I want to say Appalachians.
Yeah,
Might not be Appalachians.
that it's defined by the mountain range separating India and China. That's what creates that border.
Malcolm's right. It's the Himalayas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Himalaya. Yeah.
It's the Appalachian mountain range. I think is what's through Europe.
It's the one around Italy, I think.
Yeah, the Himalaya mountain range is what basically defines the entire Indian border between India and China.
It's why those nations have had a shaky peace for many years, because no one really wants to try and invade over them.
Of course, that changes when you start being able to go over them with high-flying aircraft and missiles and stuff. But that just because you can strike with missiles and bombs doesn't mean you can invade. You still need boots on the ground, and that's the hard bit.
Yeah, but the other, then you have the arbitrary borders, which would be the biggest one I can think of is Canada-US.
It's just the 93rd parallel?
The US-Canada border parallel. Let's see.
It can't be 93rd because I think there's only 90.
US,
It's something 3.
Canada border
Parallel.
Let's see, which one is it? It's the 49th parallel.
Wow, I'm way off.
Yeah, it's
Because the 93rd parallel would be I've gone to the North Pole and gone too far.
Yeah, speaking about that, the thing you're talking about with the whole Chile owning anything south of this line. What do you find is south? Because once you get to the South Pole, you just go around the other side of the country as well. The other side of the
No, because once you get to the South Pole, everything's north. You stop.
Okay. Because you could argue that everything is owned by it. Because if you just keep going in the same direction south for long enough, you'll come back around to the top. You'll come back around, and therefore
You'll own a
everything.
wedge, yeah.
Though, I was gonna say no. At that time, the Earth was actually people say the Earth was considered flat for a while, but there was always, if you look back into history and math and everything.
No, we knew the Earth was a sphere
For quite a while.
back in the BC 4000s.
Yeah,
it's easy.
It might not be necessarily. It might not necessarily be.
An easy way for the ancients to prove that the Earth was round was any lunar eclipse.
Yeah. Any it might not necessarily be the most widely accepted thing back then. There are probably a lot of places that believe the Earth was flat.
Probably more they didn't care enough to think about it.
Yeah, but it's not like it was a new discovery. There was that type of thing. It was around for a long time. Just the information, you can go back through the records and find people discussing it thousands.
The Earth never started flat. I'm so confused by where you're getting that from in the Tangent Tuesday text. Are we talking about a map? I'm confused now. Because someone drew it on some paper and then put it on a globe. Okay. Oh, I get what Per's saying. Okay. Per's making a joke that the Earth was spherical, then it was flat because that's how everyone said it was. Then it was a spherical again, and soon it'll be a square because Minecraft. Yeah.
That's okay. That goes back to like when people say the heliocentric versus the geocentric.
Yeah. The main argument back then wasn't flat versus sphere. It was is the Earth the center or is the Sun the center? So,
I know at the time there was again math to prove that.
I don't know what it was with the ancients. I do know that the established church through most of the hundreds were
geocentric.
Were saying it was geocentric for theological reasons. Yeah. The Earth is the center of the universe because it's what the Bible focuses on and such like that. I'm not sure if you can draw any theological significance out of the Earth being the third planet from the Sun. But...
Yeah, there's... actually, okay. So, we talk about, Earth being flat, right? Oh, yeah, lots of people are talking about it in the chat. The Earth is not flat. But because the Earth is not flat and the Earth is actually round, how do you draw? If you have a map that's a flat object, how does that work?
Yeah, that's why flat maps, they depending on who drew it and where it's drawn from, they all look different.
Look, the fact is, if you have a flat two-dimensional map, there will always be some degree.
Can you show a Mercator projection just to show that?
What's yeah? How is
Mercator, MERC, Mercator.
Mercator projection? Yeah.
I might be thinking of the wrong kind of projection then. What was Mercator projection? Which is the one that's cut up into weird shapes?
I don't remember.
Might just be a flattened globe.
Yeah. Flattened globe. This thing.
Yeah, things like this help.
Yeah. So, I mean...
That isn't what I was thinking. I was thinking of the other one, but yeah.
No, that's the thing. So this... The fact is, there is no... is this what you're thinking of?
Yeah.
There is no good way of making a circular map on a flat surface work. This has been one of the attempts to try to have the least distortion possible.
Yeah, so that map has everything being about the right size, but as you can see, there are holes because that's what a sphere does.
Yeah, if you look at like the standard world map, right? So if you just do world map, if you just look at the standard world map, right? This is what everyone thinks the map looks like. It is not accurate at all.
Because it's a rough estimation, but that might actually be a Mercator projection, what the regular world map is.
Yes, but there again...
but it gets... Doesn't it get more and more distorted as you go up and down?
It gets more distorted. You always have to pick an area of focus on your map, and it gets more distorted the further away you get from that area of focus. So usually people focus on... Like the maps you see around Europe and the US, the maps are focused on the Europe and the US. It's why Europe actually looks so tiny here, because this map is not actually focused on Europe.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that was focused on.
Normally, it's as you get closer to the poles, the more distorted the map gets. That's usually the way it's handled.
Yeah, they either get to be too big, or their shape is wrong, or...
Yeah, like, it's one of the first things you do learn in a geography class. As you can tell, geography is not my best subject. I know all the map stuff, but wait, what is? People are just talking about people posting artwork of what a flat map of a flat Earth would look like.
Yeah, except for the fact that the picture that Per showed, that Earth isn't flat; it's still vaguely conical. So, but that's actually something else though that just pops into mind, a tangent for you, because Per saying so is the moon. The moon's also flat. We just entered, I think, new moon today.
Did we?
Mm-hmm. So, when you see the moon and the various phases of the moon, that has to do with the relative position of the Earth, the moon, and the sun.
Yeah.
So when you have a new moon, meaning you can't see the moon at all, it's because the moon is between us and the sun. So during the middle of the day, the moon's actually in the sky, but you can't see it because the sun's there, and all of the moonlight is the sun's light bouncing off the moon.
Yeah, what was the reflectivity of the moon again? It was like
12%?
Yeah, I want to say 12-13%. Let me look that up.
Something like that. It's something like 12%. Yeah, exactly right. 12%.
Yeah, 12%.
Yeah,
I was up by 1.
So the moon's reflectivity is 12%. In other words, when you look up in the moon during a full moon, what you're seeing is 12% of all the light of the sun bouncing off the moon. And so that's where your night light comes from.
Actually, I'm gonna bring this up on the chat about the map discussion, because Mark found a really good map that showed part of the error that you have with. Can I zoom out on that? Yeah, part of the error you end up having with maps, the distortion. So here, this Oops, I keep getting the wrong display. This is so this is the world map, right? On the world map, this is Greenland.
Right.
This big landmass is Greenland. Malcolm, again, good job on finding this map. Found this map, which is a comparison of the size of actual Greenland
Yeah.
to the size of Africa.
Yeah, because if you go back to that other map that I showed, where it's all cut up.
I don't have that map.
Yeah,
Here it is.
Yeah. So the issue is that Greenland will be at the top there, where there's a whole bunch of empty space. But on a flat map, you just kind of fill that space in. So Greenland's been made way bigger than it should be.
Yeah. So again,
Whereas Africa's nice and in the middle of that.
The distortion, like this is where's Greenland?
Up the top.
Yeah, like this is Greenland. Look how it looks almost bigger than Africa. This is the actual size of Greenland in comparison to Africa.
And so, yeah. And that makes a lot of problems if you are a sailor and all you have is a flat map.
Yes.
It's actually why globes were quite a huge invention for sailing.
Yeah. You're saying it's the moon changing color. The moon changing color, during a
Right. Yeah. A lunar eclipse gives you what's known as a blood moon.
Yeah.
And there's a very specific reason for that. I don't know how much detail you want to go into.
Isn't it has to do with the fact that it means that the Earth perfectly blocks out most of the moon?
No,
the sunlight?
no, it's not. It's because the moon is in the Earth's shadow, but the Earth has an atmosphere, and so it's refracting the light through the atmosphere and bending it towards the Earth.
Which means you just get the small bit of the red light.
So yeah, it's so for the same reason that our sky is blue.
Yeah.
So the sun puts out basically white light. I think actually it's slightly yellow. So it's got more yellow to it. But when it gets to the Earth, you can basically think of it as white light. It's got all the colours in it. Then it hits the atmosphere, and as it goes through the atmosphere, all the particles in the atmosphere cause different wavelengths or colours of light to bend at different rates.
Yeah, because again, a colour is just a wave of light moving at different speed.
Right, and no, it's not the speed. It's the wavelength.
Yeah, the wavelength.
So essentially, when you think of wavelength, if you picture light as a wave, I'm not sure if you can show a picture of a waveform real quick. Yeah. So this is a waveform.
This one.
Yeah, that. So, if you picture light as a waveform like that, the wavelength is how much distance is travelled by that wave from each peak. And so blue light versus green light versus yellow light is just different lengths between those peaks.
Yeah, and then if you do light spectrum, you see this is based on how far apart.
How big that distance is between them, which is still tiny.
Blue light has the shortest distance as the
shorter distance.
Yeah, well, red light has
the longer distance.
And
so when you learn about how waves interact with things, basically, depending on the length of the wave compared to the size of the thing that it's hitting, there's essentially a difference between will it bounce or will it bend.
Yeah.
And I think it's basically like if it's longer or shorter or how much longer it is, it is depending on if it bounces or bends or whatnot. So the particles in the Earth's atmosphere are just such that blue light and red light bend at different speeds, bend at different amounts.
Well, yeah, it's because blue light, again...
blue is shorter, red is longer. And so I think blue light or red light bends more than blue light does.
No.
So during the day, all of that refraction and such causes certain things to happen, and that results in you getting more blue than the other colours, so it makes the sky look blue. During a sunset, because it's got at such a shallow angle, you're getting more light that's basically going around the Earth and bending towards you, so it still hits you, so you're getting more red light. And that's why your sunsets are red.
Well, usually orange, but yeah.
In the red direction of that spectrum.
Yeah.
and so you get more or less red depending on how much how much dust and such is in the air, and also how low the sun is on the horizon. For that exact same reason, you get a red moon during a lunar eclipse, because the same effect that's causing the light to be red as it bends around the atmosphere, when the Earth is blocking the moon, no direct light can hit the moon anymore. Only the light that's bending through the atmosphere that so only the light that's hit the Earth and then has bent around the Earth due to the Earth's atmosphere can hit the moon. In other words, only the sunset light can hit the moon in the first place. So what you get is a moon that's basically in sunset.
Yeah, which is where you get a lunar red moon.
Yeah, and so that's why you've got a red moon.
Yeah, pretty much just a good way of describing it. It's a sunset moon.
It is a sunset moon. It's the same physics involved in causing the red light of a sunset as causes the moon to be red during a lunar eclipse. Harvest moon is not what you're thinking of.
I wanted to look up.
Look up blood moon.
No, I'm not looking up blood moon. I'm looking up the lunar event of the harvest moon.
I don't know what harvest moon is.
The harvest moon is I wanted to look up more information about it because I only know the basics of it. A harvest moon is a lunar event that happens in autumn/fall, depending whichever one you want to call it, near the end of the growing season, and it was called a harvest moon because it gives you workable light through the night.
That's probably to do with relative distances from the Earth to the moon, and it being a new moon, or sorry, a full moon.
It's a full moon at a particular time.
Full moon plus relative distance.
So it was called a harvest moon because it was one of the few days that when you were going to harvest all your crops for the last crop harvest of the winter,
you could work through the night.
You would work through the night to harvest it while you could.
Mm-hmm.
It was because it was one of the only times that the moon gave you enough light.
Yeah, because the moon's orbit is again not circular, so it does get bigger and smaller in the sky because it's getting further and closer away.
That's why I was trying to find out the information on the harvest.
And so I'm pretty sure what you'll find is that the harvest moon coincides with it being close.
Yeah, I do not know enough details to give much on it. It was just a small tangent I remember being discussed.
Yeah. Interestingly, the harvest moon will happen on the same day for everybody. It's not different in China. It's the same day. It's just about when you rotate around.
Would it?
Yeah.
I don't know enough about this, so I would have to fact check that.
Well, think about it. One day is the Earth's rotation, but the phases of the moon are based on the Earth's orbit, which is independent of the Earth's rotation. The argument would be as to who gets it first, because at what point is the moon considered harvest?
Yeah, I don't know.
And so you would argue, does China get it first or does America get it first? But it's going to be the same moon within a 24, 48 hour period.
That makes sense.
So, yeah, so you've got all that to deal with as well. Somehow we got here from berries. But we like a little bit of geography and lots of astrophysics. I am quite big on astrophysics.
I'm not a big fan of geography, but I like studying countries and histories. And countries and histories have a lot of geography in it.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, that's why you get a red moon. Similarly, though, this whole moon distance from the Earth thing, that's why there's actually different kinds of solar eclipses too.
I don't hate geography. I am just bad at it. There's a difference.
So, well, it's just that you never studied it in a fun fashion, so you never really picked up on details. I never bothered
to learn maps.
Yeah.
Which kind of does hurt your knowledge of geography.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I want to get a map of Japan and learn that. But that's mostly because I'm learning the names of Japanese areas.
What I should go do is I should go learn every single country. All the major countries. Because like we said before.
And then it'll be out of date within 10 years.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, depending on who you ask, the number of countries does change.
Yeah, like, if you learn Germany, England, France, and such, that's mostly accurate. However, it's not, because if you go back 200 years, there wasn't Germany.
No, it was Austria-Hungary. No,
So-
was Austria-Hungary? No, it was Austria.
There was Austria, there was Hungary, and all these nations merged to form Germany.
There was the Germanic states.
Yeah.
Yeah, Prussia. Prussia was another one of the Germanic states. You had the whole situation in the Balkans.
So it's like, at what point, does things change? Because all you got to do is have a few European countries merge or break apart and it ruins everything. African countries, if some of those merge and become a major world power, you've got to learn that one now too.
Yeah.
If China fragments into two or three states again, you've got to learn that. Learn that.
I mean, Korea for a while was one nation.
Yeah. Yeah. Now it's North Korea. South Korea.
Also, you know how we talk about names of countries like this? We all have these official names which we think of the actual name of the country. Not true at all.
Not if you ask the country, yeah.
Yeah, because again, like Cryptic said before, Japan is called Nippon. They call themselves Nippon.
No, they are Nihon,
Nihon,
or
sorry.
Nippon, depending on who you talk to in context. That stands for essentially the sun origin, land of the rising sun kind of thing. I think Nihon is sun origin, Nippon is rising sun. I'd have to look that up. If you ask China, they are, I think, Chugoku, which is basically the country that is the center of the world. If you ask Korea, I do not know what the Koreans call themselves in their native tongue.
It's not Korea.
No, North Korea does call themselves Korea, but they call themselves Korea the way that Korea was called back when they were unified.
Yeah.
Because North Korea hasn't let go. We are the original Korea. And so basically there's two ways of saying Korea. There's an old way of saying Korea and a new way of saying Korea. And the new way is what South Korea uses, and the old way is what North Korea
yeah,
uses.
but it's not
because North Korea is like old Korea, the original Korea, and South Korea is the new, better Korea.
Well, no, that's why. But I don't believe the Korean word is Korea.
It's not Korea.
No, we have adapted it, and we just call the country Korea because it's a word.
Yeah, I'm not even sure where Japan came from. Why do we call them Japan?
I don't know, but it's like other things, like for example,
Well, America in Japan, now they call us America. They used to call us, I think it was Beikoku or Beigoku, something like that, yeah? And that was their word for America before World War II.
Yeah, but no, it was like again, this was brought up with like the country of Austria and Australia.
Mm-hmm.
They've gotten mixed up plenty of times before.
Why were they called Australia again?
Did
Did England just not like Austria?
No, Austria is that's the thing. I remember reading some stuff about this, but it was a while ago, and I'm trying to remember exactly what it was.
Because that's why we call Native Americans Indians. Because Columbus was just confused.
Yeah. No, Australia has to go with the fact of there was a mythical great southern continent.
Okay.
There was always proposed a mythical great southern continent, and its name was Australia something. I can't remember what the other part of it was. So when they never actually found it, which I know it was Antarctica, but when they never found it, they found the best representation of it, which they thought Australia was the closest thing they would find to it. So they named Australia after that great mythical continent.
Yeah,
Austria was based on a phrase in another language. It was like a 4-word phrase, which just got cut down over the years to being just Austria.
Right. I mean, don't the Germans call themselves like Deutschland?
I don't remember. I think
Or
if you
is
want
that
to,
Dutch?
I think that might be Dutch. You just did.
Yeah.
You can ask Malcolm. Malcolm, you're German. You can answer the question.
Is Malcolm actually German, or are we just making a meme out of that?
I don't know if you're making a meme or what.
He just speaks just barely enough German to make that joke that I made earlier.
You've studied enough. You've studied more about you know German words, so you probably know what Germany calls itself.
I mean, I know French words. I don't know what France calls themselves. Probably just France.
I don't know.
Since French and English are okay. Yeah, that's right. Right, Français. I now want to know what Russia calls themselves. But I can't Google it because I can't read Russian.
No. What is even the script?
Slovakic, I think, or something like that. It's a Slovenian script.
I'll tell you this. You will realize how bad you are at recognizing language scripts if you go and try and play a game of GeoGuessr.
Oh yeah, I should do that at some point. Like I can now tell Japanese, Korean, and Chinese apart. Korean's quite actually easy to recognize, but Japanese and Chinese, that's quite difficult if you don't speak one of them.
Well, isn't it because Japanese is taking the Chinese script and changing it?
Japanese is using simplified Chinese characters and hiragana and katakana. The way that you tell Chinese and Japanese apart is you look for hiragana.
Okay.
If there is no hiragana, it's probably Chinese. If there is, it's Japanese.
Yeah, but again, if you want to realize how bad you are at recognizing language scripts, go try and play a GeoGuessr. See a sign that tells you exactly where you are, and have no idea what language it's in.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That would actually be something fun we should do.
We should do a GeoGuessr event or something like that. But I don't know if any of us know enough to be able to teach from that. Just like, I don't know where I am. It's green. So it's not the North Pole or Greenland.
I'm
it's green. It's not Greenland.
I'm a big fan of the Wikipedia game.
Yeah.
The Wikipedia game is a fun game.
Yeah, we could do something like that as well. But that's more dangerous than GeoGuessr. Because sometimes you go through questionable Wikipedia articles, or just, I need to get here and I started in medical and we're going to learn about some unpleasant medical diseases.
Yeah.
On the way towards getting out. Yeah.
For people who don't know what the Wikipedia game is, the Wikipedia game is you select one article, select another article, and you must get from the first article to the second article by only clicking the links directly in the articles.
Yeah, but danger is when you, for example, your article is tennis and hospital, and you have to get there through tennis elbow.
Something like that, yeah. The general. I know there was the. What kind of the proposed theory was? There was a theory that you could get to.
All articles lead to Rome, and you can always get to Rome in less than 8 clicks.
Yes, that's the thing. Yeah, you can always get to Rome in less than 8 clicks, which actually is not that hard to do. No,
get to history, get to periods, Rome.
Yeah. So all you have to do is get to anywhere to history, and it's not hard to get to. It's not hard to get to the overarching topic of history.
Well, because all you do is I start at something, you go to history of, and then generic history, and you're good.
Or no, my first thought would be, it's generic of location. England.
Yeah.
Click England. History of England.
Yeah. It's like
Click Rome.
It's either history of or invented in or location. History of location, and you get to a history of, then periods of history, then Rome, and then Rome.
Yeah.
It's not that difficult.
That's the thing's going off, which is kind of our call.
Yeah, but it's 5 minutes early.
No, it's
2 minutes early.
It's 3:59.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about 3 minutes early.
What is Welsh? Like, Welsh is that's like saying someone's German or saying someone's English. But what's the country of Welsh? Is it just Welsh? Or is it
Wales?
Is it Wales? Okay.
It's the country of Wales, which is part of the UK, which is where you lived.
I lived in England. I don't know anything about Scotland or Wales.
Or Northern Ireland.
Right, because if you call Northern Ireland part of Scotland, they will kill you.
It's not Scotland, it's Ireland itself.
Okay, I don't remember. See, this is how bad my English geography is.
It's England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. Actual Ireland had a civil war between Ireland and Northern Ireland to determine if they were going to be part of the UK.
Is he actually a Scottish lord, or did he buy that, 1 square foot of land in Scotland?
Yeah, you can just buy...
Because we did that as well. Miss Nicky is a Scottish lord as well.
No, I think it's Welsh.
Okay, a Welsh lord then. But lords and ladies, that's right, yeah. So, yes, we've done that as well. You could buy 1 square foot and you're technically a lord.
Yes. I mean, there's the whole the UK government still has the House of Lords, which determines a lot of their government policies.
Yep.
It's like how you have the Senate and Congress. You have
Yep.
the House of Lords and the what's the name of the
Commons.
other thing? Huh?
Commons.
Yeah, the House of Commons and House of Commons and House of Lords. They had to put some restrictions on the House of Lords because the House of Lords is only as much as like the people there was nothing stopping you at one point. From
Again,
adding...
I'm going to buy a square foot of land. I'm now a lord. I'm going to the House of
No,
Lords.
okay, that's not how that works. But it was the lords were noble families that were instated in. There's nothing saying you can't just make more noble families.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there wasn't. Now there is. There's now a limit. But before it wasn't. So it's like, oh, I want to get this thing passed. Okay. Well, there's 15 people who are against me.
I now
Well,
declare.
I'm just gonna add in. I declare 10 new lords that all agree with me.
Right. You can't just declare yourself a noble, but a noble of a certain level can go. You are the noble of pineapples.
Well, no, it would be the queen, or I think it has.
Someone tied to the queen.
I think
close
it's
enough
the
to the
queen or the prime minister are the people who can initiate someone into noblehood.
Still, I need to get this through, so I'm going to declare the noble families of pineapples, apples, pizza, and Marmite. You probably can't do Marmite.
You could. How does copyright work with nobles?
They are above the law, so it doesn't matter. So
I don't actually know how that would work.
anyway, on that note, everybody think about if you're part of the Marmite hate party or the Marmite love party. And we'll talk about that.
No one knows what Marmite is but us.
I know, so figure it out, have some, immediately regret it, because you're either now addicted to Marmite or you burn your tongue off. So,
Okay.
anyway, everybody,
That has been Tangent Tuesday for...
see you everybody, we'll be back
November.
in, what is it, 60-10 divided by 10 days.
Thank you, French.
Yep.